Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and so far, Legion Remix, the new piece of content that came out just recently, has been incredibly fun to jump into. And Legion Remix is great for a bunch of different types of players. Whether you're someone who just wants to get a bunch of new transmugs, collectibles, mounts, and even housing decoration, whether you're trying to create the most godlike demigod characters so you can solo some of the hardest mythic content of this Remix expansion, or even if you're just somebody who's just trying to level a couple of characters ahead of midnight, Legion is perfect for every type of player. However, there have been a lot of players asking the question of what are the fastest leveling methods for Legion Remix. If you are trying to play a bunch of ults, or if you're just trying to catch up to level 80 so you can just start doing endgame content with everybody else, what is the ultimate fastest method of getting a character up and running so you can actually play in Legion Remix? And after doing a little bit of research, I decided just to level a fresh new character to see just how fast you can get to max level. And I tried different forms of leveling, from raids, dungeons, heroic world tier, as well as just normal questing, to find out which of these methods is actually the fastest. So I wanted to go over exactly what my findings are and go over exactly what you can do in order to shorten the time until you reach max level as quickly as humanly possible. With that being said though, if you guys do want to see more guides for Legion Remix, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. It's been a while since my rogue has been a Nightborn, and yeah, I decided to level 1 as a Nightborn specifically. And while I don't have the craziest good ratio for PvE or PvP content, man, did it look good in the Azjara set. It looks absolutely amazing. I kind of miss their unique look. Always enjoyed the Nightborn look specifically. A leveling this character I actually found it was actually ridiculously quick, about 5 hours, when you're actually just focusing on grinding out the character as quickly as possible. Now, while leveling a brand new character, I noticed that there's two things that stand out the most when it comes to increasing your experience gain and level gains on all of your ults, because of a neat stacking buff that is available for your entire warband of the infinite power, which for each character is going to have, grant you a set amount of agility, stamina, strength, speed, versatility, all depending on how you upgrade your artifact weapon. But also, it's going to have this warbound buff of additional experience gain. And the faster you can start racking up everything that allows you to gain additional experience gain, the faster you're going to be able to start to gain quite a lot of leveling boosts and XP gains on any character that you end up leveling for this content. Whether looking just to get your first character to level 80 and just play that the entire time for the rest of Remix, or if you're just looking to get yourself an army of ults in preparation for midnight, which right now would be the best time to do so. Now, the two components that end up giving you the most amount of experience gain, the first one is going to be campaign quests. So the first thing you should do on any character, especially your first character for Legion Remix, is focus on campaign quests as early as possible. And you'll find these campaign quests in the Legion Remix quest section, and they'll be marked as campaign Azuna or campaign High Mountain, campaign for all the different zones, and it even tells you which quests you gotta complete in order to be able to get the campaign achievement. When you complete the campaign achievement, you get a perfected epoch memento, which grants you 10% additional gain of infinite power towards your experience boost for that character, which is massive. So the more of these you can stack up together, that's 10% per zone that you can get up really early. And with 5 zones available at the beginning, Val'sharah, Azuna, High Mountain, Stormheim, and yes, even Suramar has an achievement for this specifically as well. Completing this as early as possible allows you to also get an additional memento. So you're looking at 50 different mementos, with Suramar quests specifically being a lot of side quests, not even a lot of main quests, which was super unusual compared to some of the other quests, which were mostly main quests. But that's potentially 50% additional gain that you can get for all of your characters. You also get a couple of these mementos whenever you visit the bazaar at level 40 and 80, so as you're leveling a brand new character, you can also get some additional boosts as well, but you'll be visiting bazaar pretty naturally throughout your leveling journey within Legion Remix. But the first thing you should do at the very beginning, is definitely get all your campaign quests out of the way to stack up as much mementos for that infinite power XP bonus. And the other aspect that helps you contribute towards this additional EXP gain are research quests, which are incredibly efficient for Legion Remix and definitely are worth prioritizing above everything else, or at least prioritize them on the same level as campaign quests. Number 1, campaign quests. Number 2, research quests to be done side by side with campaign quests. The reason why research quests are so good is because the amount of XP they offer you per quest is essentially like a level's worth of XP. And the best part is, compared to some of the other quests, which don't always scale super well at max level, like especially from level 70 to 80, it's a bit of a weird dead zone, which is why Blizzard gives all the characters like a huge EXP buff. Not all the quests start to really feel as rewarding, but research quests continue to feel incredibly rewarding no matter the level bracket you are in, so they're definitely worth picking up as early as possible. And the best part is, you can start working on them side by side with all the content, since they're mostly just like a passive thing that runs in the background. It'll be quests like complete a dungeon, or I don't know, loot some herbs and ore, or possibly even just like 200 demonic enemies. So you'll just pick it up, and you can go back to questing in Azuno or Valshara or any of the zones while completing these quests in the background at the same time. So it's like two birds with one stone type of a situation, where you continue to make progress through all the main stories while passively completing the research quests at the same time. And they're really good. Every single research quest also awards you 1% additional bonus EXP gain for the infinite power, which does not sound like a lot, but when you get 3 of these quests done at a time, that's 2% bonus. When you get 10 of these quests done, that's a 10% bonus. When you get 20 of these quests, 30, 40, that continues to really rack up towards that infinite power. And if you're trying to get some of the end game rewards for Legion Remix, you'll naturally be drawn towards research quests anyway. So there's a good chance you're going to be able to really power up your infinite power EXP gain rapidly over the next few weeks if you're playing somewhat regularly in Legion Remix, so they're definitely worth doing. Now, besides the EXP buffs, which should definitely be your highest priority, there's also a number of other ways for you to be able to increase your experience gain. One of those being Heroic World tier, where enemies are going to hit incredibly hard in a lot of the cases. Some enemies will even have affixes that grant them additional mechanics or different abilities that make them even deadlier than usual. Passively, enemies are going to be a little bit tougher in general too, and the reward for running Heroic World tier is not only better gear and potentially some endgame items that you can collect from quests and open world content, which is pretty awesome, but for a brand new leveling character, slaying enemies in Heroic World tier does grant you like 500% more EXP on every single one of the kills, where killing even a normal enemy can net you a decent bit of XP that could be potentially comparable to like a third or a fourth or a fifth of a quest EXP, so that's really not terrible. However, the delicate balance of difficulty versus questing speed is something that every player is going to have to consider. Like leveling on my Paladin, I had no problem running Heroic World tier. Paladins, I feel like I just built different. The immunities, absorbs, and massive AoE damage, plus very short cooldowns with Wake of Ashes, I think just allowed the Paladin just to be able to wipe out things a lot more regularly, just because they're a tankier class. My Rogue, on the other hand, I felt like does not really scale super well early on, but gets a lot stronger towards the tail end, so early on, a lot of the enemies were taking a little bit too long to die. So this is something that you will have to figure out on your own. Ideally, you should be running Heroic World tier if you feel like you are able to quest fairly quickly. However, it is not mandatory. Heroic World tier is by no means a must-have feature, because a lot of the times, like when I'm questing, 3 quests would grant me a level. So if I were to have Heroic World tier, I'm essentially slowing down how fast I can level, because I can turn in quests a lot slower. But turning it off allowed me to increase the speed at which I'm turning in quests, which is where majority of my XP comes from. So this will really come down to personally up to you. If you're able to hang in the Heroic World tier and are not slowed down by how fast you can complete quests, you could keep it on. However, it is not mandatory if it's drastically reducing your questing speed, so some classes and some class specs are definitely going to have a different experience with the Heroic World tier. Now the next question, dungeon leveling. Is it actually worth it? And dungeon leveling is, at best, okay. It's not amazing, it's just okay. Heroic spam dungeons would be the best course of action if you are looking to spam dungeons while leveling, because they provide you the most amount of EXP for enemies that you slay and the completion bonus. The dungeons, however, are really good when you already have a research quest for like a normal run or heroic run or very specific instance, because then when you finish that instance, you also get that bonus of the research quest, so those are definitely worth doing. But by itself, without any research quests or any other bonuses, dungeon spam is not, at least from my experience, the fastest way to level a brand new character. Maybe if you have like a full pre-made group with a tank, a healer, a couple of DPS, or like a group of 5 tanks that could just run through the content, blow everything up very, very quickly, which seems to be the Mythic Plus dungeon meta, is to run as many tanks as possible, then maybe I feel like dungeons could be good. But in a lot of the cases when you're in pug groups, I feel like my progress is slower than just questing and open world content. So they're decent, but they didn't feel like the fastest method overall. However, what did feel like a really quick method were the raids, which are incredibly good for early levels and easy levels, especially since you can do leveling raids as you're leveling a brand new character. Raids are on a daily lockout too, which is why they're also very, very good. And in Legion Remix, you can actually start queuing into some of the early raids starting at level 20 or 25. Like, you'll be able to just queue for LFR raids while still questing on a character. You don't have to be max level in Legion Remix to do a Trial of Valor or Emerald Nightmare on LFR, or even normal difficulties. You can actually run them both on LFR and normal as level up raids. Instead of rewarding you the best of the best gear, they'll just reward you a ton of XP while you're still not level 80, and they're super good. Loads of XP per boss guild, and there's a good number of bosses that are available right now between the TOV and Emerald Nightmare raids. And the best part, like I said, they are on a daily lockout. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of free time to play each day, at the very minimum when you're leveling a character, do you level up raids? They're incredibly good and incredibly quick to get into, especially when you just queue for groups in the LFG for the normal versions. I think those are easier to get into than LFR in some cases, but definitely did the entirety of Emerald Nightmare and Trial of Valor each day as long as you need to keep up with that additional EXP on a character. They're insanely good, especially for the level 70 to 80 bracket as you are in the tail end of getting a character to max level. So to cap off the video with a quick recap, if you are trying to level as quickly as possible, focusing on objectives that provide you with additional bonus EXP gains all across your warband is going to be your highest priority, especially if you're planning on leveling a small army of ults ahead of midnight, because basically the more of those quests you complete, the faster you're going to be able to level your characters. So like your first character is going to be a little slower, but the next is going to be faster, the one after that is going to be faster, and then faster and faster, and it just continues to ramp up, which is the best part of this whole system. If you are trying to level as quickly as possible, questing seems to be the best way, at least as of this moment. Maybe in the future somebody will find out some kind of like a grinding spot or some kind of like a dungeon cheese. Like we had a lot of those back in Mists of Pandaria as well for Mop Remix, where we could actually level incredibly quickly through some cheesy alt methods and secondary account methods. And if those come up, we'll definitely make a guide video on that. But for now, it seems questing seems to be the best way. Whether you have the hard mode or heroic tier available or not, that's really up to you. Dungeons are decent, raids, however, are incredibly good. And if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play the game every single day, but you're trying to get the most amount of EXP progression in a short time, I actually think raids might be the best way of going about it. And you also want to make sure you are capitalizing on the fact that raids have a daily lockout. So if you haven't done your raids for the day, now would be a great time to jump into a TOV as well as Emerald Nightmare on both LFR and Heroic in order to gain a lot of experience for very little effort, especially if you're trying to get a character to max level as quickly as humanly possible. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and hope you guys did enjoy this Legion Remix video. If you guys did enjoy this guide or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Also, be sure to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with any future updates regarding Legion Remix or other content such as Midnight Alpha. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.